to rumble. I think we are, and it's gonna be good. I thought about we are gonna walk this through. On the one hand, I want to talk. I want to cover a few basic things. I want to cover for those that don't know what staking is. I want to cover staking. I want to discuss a bit on DeFi. I want to discuss a few on the other kind of use cases you have and all the other possibilities that are there for DeFi services, decentralized finance. Then I want to head over to our platform, show you a bit our corporate website, talk a bit about the team, talk a bit about the history, talk a bit about the story, all these things that we have. I have a screen share, I have my little writing pen so I can make some examples. I have the chat here on the right so that we can really be interactive. I think that's very important. We're going to leave this live up. It's going to stay up this way. And one thing we're going to do is we're going to be cutting out the small little chunks of pieces that I'm going to be discussing to really help users and really help people to understand what this is all about, what staking is, what DeFi is, what Cake is doing, what are products that we have right now, what are the services going forward, how do you use the website, and how do all these things work. And so I really want to cover all those things, and I'm quite excited to do all this. So yeah, let's kind of kick this off. Let's get this started. I can see there's quite a lot of people here. Wow, Frank saying using Cake for 2 weeks already. Cool. I think everything's going really, really well so far. Hello from the USA. Hello. I think let's kick it off right away, and we're gonna do actually a screen share, and let's walk through a couple of questions that people might have. And one of those very first questions is always, what is staking? I think that's always one of the very first questions, and people always say, hey, isn't this like cloud mining? How can this not be a scam? Where does the percentage come from? Let me know some other questions in the chat that you might have around staking. And I know for many of you, this is probably going to be super basic, but if you are in one of our chat groups on Telegram or in our social media, you know that these questions constantly come up. And so I want to kind of cover those and talk a bit about those things. At the end of the day, right, we always need to ask ourselves, how is consensus being created in a system? So basically, how do we create what's happening and what's not happening? How much money do you have in your account? Who sent money to whom? How is this consensus being created? And obviously, if we have a centralized system, well, we have whoever is in charge. So let's say you have one person, and that person is in charge and says, yep, you got money, you didn't get the money, you're not allowed to send it, you're not allowed to have access, you have access. It's basically a traditional finance system. And this is the stuff that we don't want to have. So what we obviously want to have is, we want to have this decentralized system. And so now, when we have a decentralized system, there always has to be some kind of cost. There has to be something, right? And this doesn't always have to be a financial cost, but there has to be some kind of cost to have like a vote, if you want to call it, right? And there's different ways to do this. There's very, very innovative ways that are being proposed in how to do this in a decentralized system. But so the oldest and the most traditional system is that what we call proof of work. And this is what we all know as mining. This is what we know from Bitcoin. And this is what basically we've been using now for close to 11 years. And it's very, very successful. At the moment, it is the predominant tool how to create a cost to have a decentralized consensus mechanism. And basically, what you do in proof of work mining is you have all these transactions, and let's call them little puzzle pieces. And you have all these little transactions. And instead of only having these transactions as puzzle pieces, and then basically you just checking the transactions and checking, hey, is everything correct? You have to put these puzzle pieces into a block. And here's where the tricky part is. You need to kind of guess, and it's a pure guessing game, and that guessing game costs a lot of electricity and thereby costs a lot of money. You have to guess this one puzzle piece, and this puzzle piece is what we call a nonce, a number used once. And so that's basically how this entire proof of work works, because you know, well, if anyone can guess this nonce here, it can only be done by guessing, and it's basically reversing a SHA-256 algorithm. Only done by guessing, you know that whoever kind of creates this block has done work. And this means it cannot be done for free. And so this is how all, basically, in this case, it's very stable, it's super solid. We know that cheating here is very, very difficult. Even for governments, it's going to be very, very difficult to kind of cheat here or do something. But so obviously we also know some of the downsides. It would be great to have a system where you don't need to burn electricity, right? So it would be awesome. And so a lot of systems have been proposed or looked into, and basically one of the systems is, well, instead of buying electricity, we could lock up money or deposit money, and we would have proof of stake. And then we have this staking mechanism. In this kind of staking mechanism, what happens is you don't have to calculate these nonce. So you can put these puzzle pieces together, but you don't need to calculate the nonce. What you need to do is you need to prove that you have been depositing money. So you're not proving that you have done work. Work basically means finding your nonce. It means that you have deposited money. Now in mining, you get a return on your mining. So you get a return here. So for example, you buy mining equipment and then you get a return. In staking, the exact same thing happens. Just instead of buying mining equipment, you get your return based on the money that you deposited. And here's the same thing. Basically, the percentage is inflation. This is really important to understand. It's always inflation. So this is not money that is like coming out of whatever, that's coming out of a scam. It's pure inflation in the system. For example, in Bitcoin, inflation is 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes or every block. And in all the coins, for example, you look at the coins that we're listing on Cake and many coins, what's happening is you have this kind of inflation. Now here, basically then what happens is these coins ask you to create kind of masternodes. And masternodes means it's not that everyone just can put any kind of amount in, it's you need to have certain kind of minimums. So for example, you need to have at least 1,000 coins, or you need to have 5,000 coins, and so on. And this is how these masternodes mostly work when, and this is important, when we're talking about a consensus algorithm. Now, in this case, and I'm going to use this example, and then I'm going to talk, for example, like coins like Dash or also Pivx and many other coins. They don't necessarily work this way, they work in a different way, and I'm going to explain this to you. So in this kind of case, these whoever masternodes can be part of the consensus algorithm. And it's not possible for everyone to participate in this, because just make an example. Imagine one of these coins is $10 per coin. So this would mean you need $10,000 in this coin to participate and to actually have access to this percentage, right? So it's a very simple way. And so the same as you have mining pools, to help here, you have so-called staking pools here. And so basically what these staking pools are doing, for example at Cake, we pool people's money. Now all these people could stake themselves, so it's not that they necessarily need Cake, but they need technical skills, they need to have service, and they need to have enough money to actually do this. And then they can stake. So in this case, Cake pools the money, and that's why the service is called Pool by Cake. It pools people's money and then stakes it. These coins pay a return to Cake. Cake takes out a small profit. It's really tiny. You can see the profits in our Q&A. It's basically $10 in total per node per month, plus a small fee on top, and then pays the reward to everyone back. And that's how everyone wins. These people, you as users, you couldn't stake yourself, and the coins benefit because they have more and more nodes. And obviously for Cake as a company, we make a small cut on these rewards, but pass the large majority on to the users. Now, this is basically the first version how to do this with so-called masternodes that are part of consensus algorithm. But then there's other masternodes. So for example, Dash. If you are staking in Dash, you're actually not participating in the consensus algorithm because Dash uses proof of work for a consensus algorithm. So what is the staking doing there? Well, staking can work in a second way. So on the one hand, we have these so-called masternodes for a consensus algorithm, but there's also a second way, and this is for privacy features. And actually, a lot of the coins right now are using this, and most of the coins that we, for example, stake right now on Pool actually do this. Basically, how it works there is, imagine it this way. Imagine here's person A, and they want to send a transaction to person B. Now, if this transaction is direct, everyone knows A sent to B. But so imagine there's a large swimming pool here in the middle, right? And this is a pool. And imagine person A wants to give a cup of water to person B, but it doesn't want anyone from the outside to see that A gave it to B. So what A could do is, instead of passing B the water, it could pour the water into here, and B is allowed to take it out of the pool. So what it needs is, it needs a lot of water, and in this case, water is coins. It needs coins in there where this mixing can happen. And basically, this is what's happening, for example, here at Dash, and this is how the privacy features work, and this is where the masternodes are used there. And obviously, for this service that you provide this liquidity here, this is where rewards are being paid out to the stakers. Dash is a very good example in this case, because Dash you need to have, for example, 1,000 coins. And so at the moment, Dash is approximately $100 each. So one node costs you around 100K. So it's very, very difficult for the individual to have 100K and participate from that. But if you're pooling it together, then it gets very, very simple and very, very easy. And so that is pretty much a very simple overview of what staking is. It is a super simple overview and explanation on that this is definitely not a scam, because this money just comes from the consensus. And just like in mining, these coins come out of the consensus. In this case, they come as well. So the percentage comes from there. The big difference in cloud mining, this is really important. In my opinion, most cloud mining is a scam, so be really, really careful, because the margins are not there, right? So here the margins in the mining stuff is not there. But staking is very, very difficult because it does not have anything to do with mining. And I hope that kind of answers all those questions. What staking is, how does it work, how does it compare to proof of work, where is actually the money coming from, where those percentages coming from, and it kind of walks you through all those things here in step by step here. What I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to look a bit into the chat and see if you have any questions right now, questions on staking. Let's kind of look at those and see here. Who is paying for gas and in which tokens? Alice, I'm not sure what your questions refers to. Are you talking about Ethereum? Because right now we're not using Ethereum, so I'm not sure, Alice. Maybe you could rephrase your question. How do we earn money? I kind of showed this. Let me go into the... Actually, I should stay in the screen share. I think this is better. So I showed this here. So basically, at this question right now here. How do we earn money? Basically, we pool the coins here from people, stake them, we get the return. We charge $10 per node, right? So sometimes 10,000 people can participate in a node, and so this $10 get distributed over those 10,000 people, and then we take a small cut from the remainder. The $10 is purely for infrastructure cost. Now, please, important, we might lower or raise those fees if you watch this video a bit later. This is right now, end of August 2019. Do we have a bonus? Yes, we do. Let me talk about this in just a second. What would be an average rate per annum for staking? Martin, let me go, for example, into our example here. So if you go on our website, cakedefi.com, you can click here, Pool by Cake, and that's basically our product. And then what you can do is you can scroll down here, and then you can see, for example, these are the 4 coins that we have listed right now. So for example, Safe Insure gives 84% per year. And it pays out every 39 minutes. So these rewards get paid every 39 minutes. Now remember, this doesn't mean that you get 84% every 39 minutes. That's annually, right? Return per annum, and it gets shared over every approximately 40 minutes. In Ccoin, you get close to 12%. You get paid every 9 days. Now, where do these differences come from? That's in the protocol of those coins. So Safe and Sure just said, you know what, this is what we're paying every this many minutes. Ccoin said this, and here you can see Dash, and then you have PIVX here. Now, yeah, that's basically how this kind of works there. What you can see here are the final returns. So these are the returns you as a user are getting. So this is already us having subtracted any kind of fees, nothing. These are your net returns. This is really, 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 really important. How do interest rates relate to different kind of risks? Does Safe Insure have a higher risk than Dash, or am I wrong? So just because, this is also important, just because we are listing coins here doesn't endorse these coins, it doesn't say anything about these coins. Our plan is to list as many staking coins as possible. And that's really relevant. So we just started with those 4. There's no deeper meaning that goes into this. We could have probably started with many, many others, and you're going to see us add more and more coins. So don't see this as an endorsement. Do your own due diligence, do your own research. This is always important. Don't just buy coins because they are here. Buy coins because you believe these coins will do a good job. I think this always makes a lot of sense. Higher reward percentage can mean a higher risk. It might not. So again, it's very difficult to kind of give a generalized answer here. You will have to do your own research, and I think that's really important. How do you guarantee that there's enough money in the pool to actually stake? I'm not sure I understand your question, but I think your question means what we do is we pre-fund some of the pools, right? So we pre-fund depending on how many we need. For example, in Safe Insure, we have to pre-fund like dozens of pools up front, so that when users come in, we already have those funds ready. In Dash, we're not pre-funding 12 pools because that's not necessary. So so we don't guarantee that from the very first second you get a reward, but so that, let's say, within 24 hours you start accumulating rewards. Sometimes it can be that fast, sometimes it can take a little bit, whatever is the situation right now. What you can do here is, if you actually, it should actually work here. No, it doesn't work here. What you should be able to see here, if you click on the little info mark, I was just looking where you could see it, you can see available shares and what the total shares are. So for example, on Dash here, we just spun up a completely new node. So yeah, that node, in total we have 2,000 shares, and 997 are for sale right now. On Ccoin, you can see all the details here. And in my knowledge, we're the only company who are that transparent about that. So what you can also do is, if you want to see our notes, you can go here on status, and that's completely transparent. You can see our notes. You can actually see the addresses. You can see all the details on the rewards, and you can see this. So that way, you actually know that we are super transparent, right? As transparent as we can be, so that you can know that when we get your money, we're actually doing with your money what we're saying you're doing. So you're depositing, you're buying shares. What you should be seeing is, there might be always a delay, don't forget that, right? There might be that you go there and then the share should be going down there, and then you can check all this. So it's as transparent as it can be. If you're selling your shares, so you can deposit by buying, you can sell your shares by selling. It's as transparent as it can get, and this is, you know, like if you have been working with me, you know that this is super important for me. I want transparency as much as possible, and so here I think that's industry standard. I think no one else in the kind of staking space is being that transparent, and that's very, very important to us. For us, quality, stability, that's always what we want to be known for. I think that's the key thing. Why is the reward for Safe Insure so high? I don't know. You need to talk to the team. Again, we are not endorsing any of those coins. Also, yeah, we're going to be adding a lot of coins over time. If you know projects, right, that are great staking projects, you can reach out to us and you can suggest them. Please always connect us to the team. So that's really, really helpful that we get to know the co-founder or that we can talk to them. That's very, very important to us. And then over time, we would love to list more and more projects. Which currencies will you implement in the future? More and more. I don't want to pin down on one currency right now, but obviously the goal is to get to a lot more and more currencies. We would love to get to the number. We would love to be the number one in staking, right? So if you think of staking, you think of us. We have the best transparency. We have the best security. We have the best offer. I mean, that's the plan that we have, right? And so yeah, over time, that's definitely going to get there. How long do coins have to be locked? There's no minimum time, Andre, that you have to lock your coins. You can withdraw them anytime. so we don't lock you in. Please, like just time-wise, we calculate around 24 hours max, so that's always the upper limit, 24-hour max until your money is in a share, so it can just take a little bit, and you have to give us up to around 5 days until we sell the shares back out. Now, most of the time, it happens within a couple of hours, right? I want to be clear. But we just want to be clear that sometimes if we have to spin down a complete node and it just takes a little bit, it can take up to 5 working days. Very unlikely, we haven't had this so far, but I just want to be very clear. There's just, because, I mean, there's a lot of technical stuff here, right? We actually have to, this is not just, I mean, you can see all these things. You can see the nodes moving, going up, so yeah. Yeah, wrong assumption from my side about Ethereum. All good. What tools do you provide to help with taxation? If every reward needs to be declared as income, that would be a huge amount of data for the revenue office. So, Jenks, if you are nice, then maybe you're going to get a nice little Christmas cake. And on this Christmas cake, you're going to have an export function to not having to go through all the details. Jokes aside, let me log in here so you can kind of see this in a second. I logged in here. So this is a bit of a dummy account. So what you can see here is, wait, let me click on the balances here. So at the moment, we don't have an export function yet. We're going to offer this export function so that you can exactly do what you're asking for, to export that into a CSV file or an Excel file. Obviously, we know that's going to be super important. We don't expect that anyone has to do their taxes in the first few days, but this is going to be definitely a feature that we are offering this year. So yeah. Will you be adding Bitcoin to your cake pool? Let's talk about this later, Puma, because in Bitcoin you cannot stake right now, right? Maybe in 10, 20 years, who knows, Bitcoin will move to staking, but at the moment that's proof of work, and we're not in mining. Will there be a cake coin, a utility coin or so? Could it be possible? So there will definitely not be a cake coin. We don't want to have a company coin. We believe most company coins are actually security tokens, and that's not a route that we want to go. Now, a couple of things that we have been looking into and testing and checking is, and that's when we talk about DeFi, decentralized finance, and yes, staking goes a little bit into this route, but there's way other things like lending, tokenization, stable coins, and so on. When we go in there and we talk a little bit about this, I will talk about potential blockchains to build on top of, and there we can talk about coins, and coins that Cake or Pool by Cake can use as a utility token. But the one thing that's not going to happen is there's not going to be a cake token, for example. Well, never say never, but I'm not talking about in the near future. And with near future, I'm talking months, right? Maybe we decide to do a security token offering at some point, and I don't know, sell some equity. This is crazy future talk. So this is not something that is ever on our roadmap right now. I just want to say never. But so in the next couple of months, there will not be a cake token. Julian, can I deposit Dash and buy shares of Ccoin? So at the moment, Marco, we do not offer a buying and selling function. Now this is something that's on our near roadmap, so that's something we definitely want to offer as fast as possible. Now, as fast as possible, I'm not letting you pin us down on a certain timeline, but we really want to work on that, and we want to deliver that fast because I know a lot of users want that. So we don't have this buying and selling that you can use another coin to buy another coin, but it's something we want to integrate. So at the moment, you need to natively deposit the coin. So you need to natively deposit Dash or PIVX or Safe Insure or Ccoin and so on. I cannot give you tax advice here, Jenks. You need to talk to an accountant or to a tax consultant. I do not know how to declare a staking revenue stream. And this depends on every country, I assume. Just to be clear about the rate for the currency, it is an average. Means that, for example, by Safe Insure, it is possible to get 160% and weeks later just 2%. Is it that volatile? No, so it's not possible to go from 160 to 2. These returns are just like in Bitcoin, right? So in Bitcoin, you know 12.5, and then yes, it can drop afterwards over time, but it's not going to be that volatile to go from 160 to 2. So the reason why sometimes you see the percentages change is because the price fluctuates so much. And with the price fluctuation, especially on the cheaper coins, for example, on Safe Insure, the $10 per node per month actually eats into the percentage if the price drops too much. And Safe Insure is one of those volatile coins. So for example, I think today it's up 30% or something, even though the entire market is down. And so obviously the return goes up slightly because the price is going up, and so the $10 don't eat as much into the percentage. And that's why there's some changes there. But generally speaking, the returns should be not fluctuating much. PIVX right now, for example, here is a bit lower, and the reason is just because we have been spinning up so many new nodes. So it just takes a little bit until these nodes start paying, and so that's why there has been a slight drop here. But normally they are very, very stable. We do not have any control over the interest rate. Only the projects have, but also, I mean, they design in the protocol, they design the reward schedule, right? So, and we're just forwarding that. So what you can do here is, so if we just browse around a bit on the Pool by Cake site, right? So here you have the FAQs. We can go through those if you want, or you can just read them yourself. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, right? So if you have any question, actually, most likely you can find it in the FAQs. So here you can see all the notes we have, and here you can see the rewards. And these are the rewards that are actually being paid with actual timestamps. Now again, I don't think any of the other companies is actually doing this. We want to be as transparent as possible as can be, because we believe that actually over 90% of all the staking websites are very scammy. They're more like Ponzi schemes, because it's so easy here to say, hey, you give me money, I give you some money back. And but at the end, there's nothing happening. And so in order to be very clear with people, this is legit, you can look at all those things, then you can check all those. And then you can see, oh, okay, this money comes in, and you can see all those details with all the things. So you can see the transaction ID, you can see the node address. So this is as transparent as it can get. And that's very, very important. So we got 4 cents, and it gets distributed over 61 stakers, minus obviously our small rewards. But that's, yeah, it should be, I mean, that's as transparent as it can get. And in my opinion, that should be the industry standards, right? That should be the gold standard that you should measure every other staking project. So if you go to another staking website, ask them, who is behind this company, right? Who are the founders? Who is responsible for this? Great. Where are your notes? Show me the notes. I want to see the addresses. I want to see the details. If I give you money, show me that you're actually staking. I want to see the notes. And if you're not doing that, well, how do I know you're not running a Ponzi scheme? Very simple question. And then show me that the rewards you're paying me are actually being paid from rewards, and you're not just creating fake money out of nothing. Very, very important, people, especially in staking. I assume that over time, first of all, there's going to be a lot of scams coming in because it's so easy to set up a scam here. But, and that's key, you need to look for the transparency. Do this. This is very, very important, because otherwise you're going to fall for scams. Why should I invest my money into Cake? You can't. So Green Gamer, we don't let you invest into stake. You can't, right? There's we're not looking for investments. If you want to use Cake, right? So you want to use Cake as a technical user to stake. It's up. Honestly, it's up to you. If you want to get some extra cash flow from coins, well, again, I would say if you have the technical knowledge and you have the time and you have the service and you have enough money, well, probably you don't have to use Cake. If you have over $100,000 in Dash and you have the time and you have the knowledge and so on to do all this yourself, probably you wouldn't want to use Cake. You could do it all yourself. But if you want to get the extra couple of percent because you're holding these coins and you want to get some cash flow, you don't have any other options. You either have all the limits yourself, you have the time and the technical skills, and even then we have people who come to us and say, hey, actually I could spin up a node myself, but I will still do it through you because I want you to take care of the technical side. And this is work. Like, you really have to do this stuff, right? I mean, you have to update those nodes, you have to monitor them. That's work. And that's basically the service. So you shouldn't invest, you can't invest. Like, it's nice that you offer or to consider Green Gamer to invest in Cake, but we don't need your money. We're well funded, and so no need. But thank you for the offer. Kritische Masse is asking the same question. No, you cannot at this stage invest into our company. Should we ever do another funding round, then we are happy to inform you. But for now, we are good to go. We have a good runway. Frank is asking, I know not your keys, not your coins, but I can sell and withdraw my coins anytime, right? So, of course, so that's a key thing. Yes, it's at Pool by Cake, we own the keys. Legally, they are still your coins, so we never take control of your coins. They still, like, legally speaking, right? Technically, yes, we need to have the coins because we need to stake them, but legally, they are your coins. there's a couple of things that are a big advantage at staking. In most exchanges, the coins need to be on a hot wallet. And the reason is simple, because there's so much happening, coins need to be on a hot wallet. In staking, most of the time, actually, they never leave the cold wallet, because what you're doing is you're setting up the node and it just stays there and you just stake. And there's not much happening, so there's no changing happening. They just sit there, collect rewards, and people that stake, very different mindset, right? They're not traders, they are long-term holders of a coin. That's what they mostly do. So, so security-wise, I mean, we try to have as high standards as possible. Now, yeah, and I think we have a great team who takes care of that, especially with Yuzen. I want to do actually a one-on-one with Yuzen in the next couple of weeks, so that we can really share, talk a bit about background, and talk everything about what's happening. Yeah, just I wanted to do this video now because I got so many questions. How does it work? What can I do? And so on. Do you have daily payouts? Actually, we have way faster than daily payouts. It depends really on, you can look at the rewards listing, and then you can see here, actually, this is a bit faster than like every 15, 20 minutes. So it's even faster. And you can withdraw anytime. How do you ensure security? So everything is in a cold wallet. It's really well stored. If you have grown and a lot of coins are in the pool, I guess you have a good system. Any infos about this? So Mario, we're not sharing the exact system that we're using because we want to have very little attack vectors. But I can assure you, I mean, first of all this is in cold storage, right? There's no other, I mean, there's no need to have a big hot wallet. Yeah, we want to keep this as secure as possible. We're not talking about the security system simply because we want to have as little attack vectors as possible in this. Is there any insurance regarding hacking or a technical breakdown? Martin, I'm not sure if there's actually insurance for this. We don't have it. Most insurances that I hear are where something is insured. Many times there's a lot of holes in there. So you have to trust us here. If you don't, then only invest as little as you're willing to give to someone where they control your keys. That's the only answer I have, and it's a very transparent answer. I cannot tell you anything else. Look, I have my own money that I stake here, and yeah, obviously I have full trust in our team. Invest as much as you're willing to lose, and I think that applies to anything. That's the answer that I can always give you in that. Great. So let's kind of show you a bit of the sign up process if you're interested. So if you go onto our corporate website, so you can go to cakedefi.com. You can also go directly to pool.cakedefi.com from the main website. You get here by clicking here, and then you move over, and here on the top you can see already we have a welcome bonus. So the welcome bonus, it might change when you see this video, but right now it's 5%, maxed at $1,000, so the maximum is $50 that we give you, and it basically comes on top of what you're depositing. So if you click here and sign up, you can see it. So you get a 5% deposit bonus up to $50. Now the key thing, and there's actually two key things here. You can read all this in the terms and conditions. If you sign up, the maximum is $1,000 that you get the bonus to. Now obviously you can deposit more, and that's up to you, but there's no bonus after that. You cannot withdraw the bonus for 6 months, and the reason for this is because we don't want any fraud. So what we don't want is that someone deposits $1,000 and withdraws $1,050. That's not the idea. You can withdraw your $1,000, that's fine, but you cannot withdraw the bonus. Also important, and you can read this in the terms and conditions, should you withdraw money within the first 30 days, you are voiding your bonus. And the reason is, again, we don't want any kind of bots or scams or schemes going on where people deposit, withdraw, deposit, withdraw, deposit, withdraw to game the system. This bonus is for people who use the platform for at least 30 days. I think that's a bit of common sense. Also, we want to give the bonus because we want to attract long-term users. I think that makes sense from a business standpoint. And so that's how the bonus works. You can read the terms and conditions here. You can read our general terms and conditions here. A question that I also get is, why is there no KYC? So we have consulted legal and compliance advice for staking right now with the coins that we have, the current product offering and so on. We do not need to do diligent KYC or AML measures. Now this is with this offering right now. Now, what you will see over the next couple of weeks is we are going to be extending the coins, we're going to be extending the product offer, and we will have to do certain KYC measures. Now, we will try to stay as lean as possible, as fast as possible, and one of the reasons we started exactly this way is so that we don't have all this heavy compliance stuff right now. Now, obviously, we're going to be offering other services, for example, buying and selling. We're going to be offering, for example, depositing of Bitcoin, and then we will ask for basic KYC data that you are also used to at most exchanges. But for us, it was really, really important to start lean, to have our MVP out, to get going, to grow, to have the first users, get feedback. We believe in this, right? We believe in starting fast, getting users on, getting feedback, not having a perfect product yet, right? So I'm not saying that this website is perfect. I'm not saying that the service here looks perfect. I think you can our technical side, that's solid, that's perfect. But from UX, there's always stuff you can improve. But for us, it was important to get this out, get users on, get feedback, improve, reiterate, and I think that's what great companies do. They work with users, and I think if you know us well, you should know that this is something that's really, really important to me, being close to the user and working with the community, and that's what we're trying to do. If the SINS coin is halving, it's worth within 1 year, so I still lose money, even if it is 83% per annum. Sure, I mean, if the price halves, then yes, you would be losing money. Again, you need to do your own due diligence, right? Do not, I mean, we list, you're going to see more and more coins, and you have to do your own due diligence. That's the key part. We cannot do this for you. I think that's clear. There are a lot of services out there where you don't know anything. I think you will have big successes. Transparency is one of your USP. Yes, and that's what we're going to go for. Because at the end, transparency, trust, stability, security are things that you cannot fake, right? There's very little competition in this. Most companies are going to compete with like shiny little objects that are looking good short term, and then they all go bust. If you look in the cryptocurrency space, I think the companies that get really successful are those that are really solid, they are trustworthy, and we want to go the exact same route. And I think that's going to be very important. So when I deposit 10 SINs, I will surely get 8.699 SINs after 1 year. You should be getting 8.69 SINs. Yes, probably, if the math is right, but yeah. Don't pin me down right now. I might be missing one of the commas, but yes, very, very likely. Do we get an email when you add new coins? Martin, yes, and we're going to be posting it on our social media, so I hope you're following us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Reddit, on Telegram, everywhere. You can find us under Cake DeFi, one word, Cake DeFi. Yeah, and you're definitely going to get the news there. So yeah, if you signed up there, you're very unlikely going to miss it. So yeah. Great. Are there any questions that you have right now on how staking works, how Pool by Cake works, what kind of features we have here, and yeah, what are the very, very important things here? Is a mobile app planned for all these addicted people who want to check every hour what the status of the portfolio is? I know it's not necessary, but I guess you know where I'm coming from, Mario. I definitely know where you're coming from. It is definitely planned, but it's not going to be one of our short-term goals. And the reason is we really want to focus on expanding our coin offering, expanding our product offering, something that I'm going to be discussing right now, and making an app at the end. Right now, we have been growing the team insanely. So just today, we have have signed team number 13 and 14. So we're now 14 team members, which if you think about the growth, it's insane. Just like 6-8 weeks ago, it was basically just using it myself. And we've been kind of scaling, and now we're like 14 people. And if you've ever been in a fast growth company, you know how tough that is, right? Getting everyone in. So that's I think a very key part. So let me just quickly browse and see if we missed anything or forgotten anything, but I don't think so. So if we go to Cake DeFi, are you going to prohibit deposits from certain countries? Is there going to be some sort of KYC? Telma, I mentioned this briefly before. So at the moment, we do not do KYC because with the service we have, with the coins we have, we were advised that we do not need KYC. Now, I want to tell you, in the next couple of weeks, we are going to be adding new features, new product things we're going to be talking about. Right now, Mario is asking about it, but that's exactly what we're doing. And then we're definitely going to add KYC measures. So, and users who are going to be on there and who do not fall under these new KYC measures, then we need to ask them to offboard, and we need to ask them to withdraw their coins. Yeah, that's definitely going to happen. One of the reasons we wanted to have everything lean and fast right now is just because, well, again, we want to get to market, we want to have users on, we want to get feedback, and that's the key thing. And then reiterate over that. Mario, I will talk about future and so on there as well. Is it possible to deposit Bitcoin on the Safe Insure wallet? What is wrong with this Cake DeFi button here? I can't see this here. And Cake DeFi automatically changes into Safe Insure coins. Okay, now I understand. Stefan tagged me here. And I was like, what's wrong with this button here? So at the moment, Stefan, this is not possible. At the moment, you have to buy these coins on an exchange and then deposit them natively. We want to offer such a feature in the future, though. I've never bought these coins. Which is the best place to buy with my fiat money? Hardy, I am not in a position to give you any advice what exchanges to use and how to buy crypto. I hope you understand that. I'm happy if you ask this in groups, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to have their opinion on exchanges and ways. Myself, as a CEO of this company, I cannot give you that advice. You have to figure this out yourself. I hope you understand that. If you go to coinmarketcap.com, there's an entire list of exchanges and tools, and then you can pick the one that you like best. So you can just go to coinmarketcap.com. Jürgen Hütte asks, 5% for the first deposit only, or does it accumulate? Stefan, it accumulates. So it's up to $1,000. So you can accumulate that. So that's fine. Yes. So it's not only on the first deposit. Yeah. So if you go to our Cake DeFi website, basically you can see our core values. You can see a bit on what we believe in, what is important to us. It's about being accessible and transparent, and I think we really live this with our very first product. You see the two co-founders. There's also maybe something that I would love to mention here. I think we learned a lot from my past company where it was just possible by two other founders to kind of vote me out and really get me out. And so here we really wanted to have the system where we have way more stability. So it's using it myself. We have equal shares. We have an investor who's like this neutral third party. And that investor, I mean, I cannot get using out, using cannot get me out. It would have to be the investor who says, hey, look, it's really not going to work. And so there's a lot more stability, a lot more security in there. That even if Yusin and I wouldn't get along, and trust me, I mean, I've known Yusin for years now. We've always gotten along really well. It would be very unlikely that the investor takes a decision that's stupid for the company, right? And I think in my past company, decisions were made that were stupid for the company and were done by ego and were done by personal agendas, not by company interests. And so here, we really wanted to set this up in a really good way, and I think that was smart to do it this way. Then you can see our first product. You're going to be seeing more and more products being added here, and that's something going to be important. Here you can see the timelines in August. We had the public launch. We are working on this DeFi blockchain that, yeah, we're also going to have a white paper on where we're going to analyze where could we do DeFi use cases on the best. Is Ethereum the best? Is Bitcoin the best? Are one of the other contra exchanges the best? What are these options? And so we are going to be talking about this. Now, obviously, we are hiring, so especially we are using Node.js on the back end. If you're a JavaScript developer, please apply. We're taking remote jobs. We're also taking jobs in Singapore. And here you have all the social media channels. So I think that's important. Green Gamer says, thanks for your time. This was helpful. Sure, anytime. Great. Mario asked, I answered this question, Mario. How do you approach the coins listed or new coins in the future? You do your own research on the coins, I guess, and have an internal assessment system to define with whom you would like to talk to. Exactly. So, I mean, yes, that's the plan, right? So we do want to, obviously, the larger the coin, the better. Obviously, also returns play a bit of a role. It's a different story if people get 2% on a coin or if they get 50%, of course. And so these are all things that we put into consideration. Best is if we get to talk, if you know a coin, if you have a favorite coin, connect, if you can, founders or the people responsible with our team so that we can talk, discuss, understand the plans, and then, yeah, hopefully list them. Great. I think this really kind of covers staking. So we kind of covered staking. We kind of covered pool. I hope that kind of explains pool. Should you have any questions on pool, then please let me know. This should be clear. So let's talk a bit about the future. And let's discuss this a bit, because obviously, and that's a key thing. If you know me, I'm someone, I always have a big vision. I always love to dream big. I'm someone who really takes something massive. And so it's not only about staking. There's a lot more there's just a lot more coming after that. Let me just go into this question here. Let me summarize it to be sure I'm getting it right. You created a technical feature for users to stake coins within nodes. Users can withdraw anytime and can take their profits every day. Correct. Yes. And so obviously we have a lot more happening, a lot more ideas that are going to come afterwards. And so what I want to do is briefly explain to you this concept of called DeFi. And DeFi is decentralized finance. And so if you actually think about decentralized finance is nothing else than finance, but decentralized. And so let's think of these ideas through that we have so far. The very first use case of DeFi, and it's the very first one, is that of creating money. And basically, that's what Bitcoin is doing, right? So instead of a central government creating money, it's Bitcoin who has done that. And that's something we definitely not going to go in there, right? So if I write cake here, so this is definitely not something we are going to go into because we actually want to build on top of Bitcoin. We believe in Bitcoin. We're big Bitcoin holders. We believe Bitcoin is such a strong thing in the system. It's probably the strongest coin. So it's not something that we would love to go against. So creating money, it's not something that we at Cake see ourselves going into. Now, again, never say never, but it's a very, very, very unlikely scenario and case that we are going to get into this space. Now, let's keep going, right? And so then basically, a couple of things we have here. We have consensus algorithms. Now, you could talk about whether this is DeFi or not, but to me, it falls under there, and it's something that definitely we at Cake are in because we're doing staking, right? So that's very, very clear. Consensus algorithm in traditional finance is the bank kind of controlling your money, right? So it's not the creation of money. It's basically being like charging and being in part there. And so that's a very, very key part. Yes, Benny, we are uploading the video afterwards. It's going to be available. We're actually also going to be cutting it into smaller pieces so that you don't have to watch the entire webinar, but you can also watch little summaries. I think that's going to be super helpful as well. Great. So this is definitely something we're going to be doing. So then obviously you have another one, and that's this entire thing of stable coins. Right? So stable coins, basically that's very traditional kind of money of the dollar, the euro. Facebook seems to be going in this route. At the moment, I'm going to give it a yellow. And the reason is we have some great ideas of what we would love to do there. It's probably not the very first thing that we want to get into, but there are some really great ideas. Stable coins come in 3 shapes and forms. Let me kind of write this down. You have centralized ones. You have decentralized ones. And in decentralized ones, you have them two different. You have them collateralized. And this is the key thing, you have them uncollateralized. And so collateralized, this is something, centralized is not something we want to get into. Collateralized, it might be that we're just going to be offering that B2B, right? But this is not going to be the most exciting part. The most exciting part would be uncollateralized. So that one would be the most exciting one. Here's the big question, can it be done? Because what actually has to be solved for an uncollateralized, decentralized stablecoin is actually you have to solve reputation. How to put reputation on a blockchain and without becoming Big Brother, right? So that would be the most exciting part. I'm telling you, that's probably going to be the most long-term project. It's a very, very difficult problem to solve. Yusin and I have some really crazy ideas how to do this, but this is very, very long-term. So I'm talking about years, right? So let's push this aside a bit. So that's not something that we're going to be doing. Like we would love to do this, but that's uncollateralized stable coins. No one has been able to figure this out so far, but there's some really great ideas. Now, and this is now where it gets in the so-called definite, and this is obviously lending. So lending is definitely something we want to offer at Cake. We would actually love starting this year already. Obviously, you could do lending centralized in crypto. and decentralized, and we want to offer both. And that's something we're definitely going to get into. Lending is getting big, it's getting strong, and this is something that we're definite. So with lending, you can get returns on Bitcoin, you can get returns on Ethereum, you can start getting returns on many coins. But again, we're going to do it the same way as we do staking, which means we're going to be super transparent. So we're not going to be like most of these lending companies where you give them money and you got no clue what they actually do with your money. You don't know if they're running a Ponzi scheme. And I'm telling you, probably a lot of the lending companies, they're running Ponzi schemes. So they're not really lending it out. They're just kind of giving you some returns on a computer, and at some point they just collapse. And so we're definitely not going to do this. We're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to be super transparent. So we're going to go and say, okay, this is the money. Here it goes. These are the returns. We are going to get complete transparent audits, very transparent statements. So you know, okay, great. Cake, wow, they are like top notch in this. And so that's definitely something we would love to add. The goal for this is to add this in 2019. So this year, right? So just so you kind of see a bit of the timeline here. So staking, we have it already, so I don't need to kind of talk about this. So this here is future talk, really future talk, right? And this is now. Okay. And then obviously we have a lot of other things here. For example, we have this entire thing of tokenization. Also wrapping. And that's also something that we definitely want to get into. It's not something that we're going to be getting into this year. The plan, hopefully, we can do this next year, right? So I'm going to write future. I don't want to pin myself down on timelines, but I learned my lesson there, sometimes how unpredictable certain things are. But this is something that we definitely want to get into as well. And so, and this brings us, and here obviously you can do tokenization centralized, and you can do it decentralized. And so what you can see here already, right? And so I'm just going to mark this for you here. So you can see here the decentralized, uncollateralized. These things, you need to somehow, if you want to do them decentralized, right? You need to somehow you need to do them on a blockchain. And so here is where the big question then comes: what blockchain to use? And we have done a lot of research, right? Bitcoin doesn't have the functionalities, right? It doesn't have the functionalities. Now, Ethereum definitely has the functionalities. The question on Ethereum just is how secure is it, and what's its future, and how is its scaling possibilities, and what are all happening there. So we're still ongoing, and so in this white paper, we're actually going to put out an analysis on what, in our opinion, is the best blockchain to build on top of. At the moment, we believe, and that's just what we believe, to do some kind of a side chain on top of or on the side of Bitcoin, basically using the best benefits out of these chains. But that's going to be an essential thing if you want to offer super secure, super stable, super transparent, super fast, but really decentralized DeFi or decentralized finance in this entire ecosystem. And that's what we would love to build over the next couple of years. We want to be known for this player, for this number one player in the entire DeFi space. We're starting with a service that's maybe not as sexy, but it's efficient, it works, and it's staking, and it's done, and it gives people cash flow. But over time, what we want to be known is we want to be this number one player in DeFi. And then obviously what this means for the user, and that's what I get really passionate about, is that people don't have to worry about how to kind of invest their finances, but they can actually go, and that's kind of the maybe picture going forward, right? So you go on the Cake website, and then on the website you basically have this bar here with this kind of setting where, well, here you have lower returns, and here you have really higher returns, but then obviously a higher volatility. And you can just go and say, you know what? It doesn't matter what coins I deposit. It can be fiat, it can be Bitcoin, it can be whatever new coin there's in the future. And then I can just deposit this. And I just have this setting, and I can put the setting here, or I can put it here, or I can put it here. And it's just my choice. And then I don't have to worry about it. So the system automatically distributes it, maybe over 360 different assets, whatever we have. Because with this system, with DeFi, we attach, or we approach every financial market, but in a decentralized manner. And we do it in a way where people don't have to think about it, but they have full transparency, full trust, full stability. That's the great thing. And then they can just get their cash flow. They're completely liquid, and that's the big dream. That's the big vision. And it comes from my own pain point. It comes from a pain point that I think about my finances, right? Should I invest in real estate? Should I invest in stock? Should I invest in gold? Should I invest in Bitcoin? Blah, 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 blah. And so at the end, This is such a hassle, it's such a headache. So it would be 50 times easier to have this one thing where you don't even have to trust this one thing. So this one thing, in this case, cake, is just a technical intermediary. And it just goes and it automatically wraps it off. And that is the dream. That's the future going forward. This is not going to be something that we'll be building in the next 1 year. It's going to take 5, 7, 10 years to build. But that would be the really cool thing. And in the future, it's not only going to be humans probably using this, it's going to be machines using this, right? And there's a lot of systems, a lot of creative ways you can do there that you have there. And it all ties together. There's some really beautiful things that you can do when you use blockchains and true decentralized transparent systems. And that's kind of the vision here. That's what we want to build. It all starts with one service, with one product, and you're going to see the second one this year, and you're going to see more and more and more and more. Yeah, that's what we really want to do. And so that's really, really exciting on this kind of way. I think you're just talking about crypto lending. Most fiat lending sites are legit. You might be right. But then again, also with fiat lending, you have to kind of know where does the money go, right? And how are returns being generated? How transparent is the system? So that's key. Is it possible to withdraw or deposit shares? I don't see the decentralized point. If I do not own anything, I mean, it's still a great product, but not what decentralized is for me. Steven, so I agree with you on the staking part at the moment, right? I agree. So the staking is not necessarily the most decentralized part. I get that. But it's a very fast and first vertical in this entire part. You cannot withdraw shares because the nodes have to stay as a node. I think that's straightforward. Hey, I'm just asking, if more and more people would use pools like your company offers, would this not make a crypto getting more centralized? I really like your company, don't get me wrong. I mean, yes, so that's like a mining pool, right? If everyone would use the same mining pool, yes. But just because we want to be the number one doesn't mean that 100% are going to use us, right? This is never going to happen. So there will always be competition. There will always be other companies. There will always be people who have enough money to do it themselves, right? So I think, honestly, if we can get to 20% of the entire staking market, man, we're going to be rock stars. Like, seriously, we're going to be huge. So I wouldn't worry about this at the moment. I think there's a lot of other questions to happen before that becomes relevant. Now, obviously, I would love to get to a stage where we're like really, really big. But one thing I definitely don't want to have is I don't want to centralize a coin. I'm all against that. Yeah, I hope that kind of gives you a bit of an overview. Let me know if you have any other questions, if there's things that are not clear. I hope I really walked through what staking is, what we do at Pool by Cake, what we do at Cake in general, what the future looks like, what are our plans. The idea is we're going to cut this video up into smaller pieces. We're going to leave the original open. We're definitely going to do more of those Q&As. The next one is most likely going to be with Yusin and myself. We're going to chat a bit, talk a bit about the ideas. We're going to let you ask questions. And the one with Yusin, we are not going to be able to do in German. We might have German subtitles afterwards, but we cannot do this one in German. Yusin can do it in Chinese, but then my Chinese is not good enough. Yeah, and we're going to do this in English. And that's probably going to be the next one. And we're going to do these on a regular basis. I want to talk on DeFi in general. I really want to push this space forward. And obviously, we're going to talk about the company side. So yeah, follow us on social media. All the links are down below. So for all the social medias, for all the Telegram channels, all this is in there. And we're going to have updates on by news. So we have a lot of these things. When is the German live? So it's going to be on Saturday, same time. So Saturday, 12 p.m. Channel is here. The live is already there. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you're already automatically going to get notified. So that's when the German is. Let's say Ccoin crashes. How quickly could people withdraw their Ccoin from your platform in order to sell them? Again, there's a maximum processing time of about 5 days. Now, so far, I think when people withdraw, it takes like 1 or 2 hours. We just need to get the share out, sell it, that's done, right? But again, I cannot promise you any kind of delivery times if there's chaos in the market, right? Sorry, I'm still have a slight cold from last week. I can't promise that to you. What our terms and conditions is, I think we have up to 5 days of processing time. So far, we have never needed those. But there shouldn't be any kind of minimums. No offense, I was just thinking beyond. It's all fine. No offense taken, really. I'm absolutely cool with that. Thanks for the important information. Best wishes for the company, Martin. That's super nice. Thank you so much. Are you planning as an affiliate program? Yes, we are. That's actually a good question. So we are planning an affiliate program, but it's definitely going to be only one level. Just a traditional affiliate program, something like Binance has or Ledger is using. So yeah, that's the plan. We also have this on our roadmap. Thanks for the video. All the best. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. An idea would be to tokenize the masternode as an ERC token and pay the return over a smart contract. Sure, but we would still have to wrap it. We would still have to wrap somehow the original coin, and because the coin fluctuates, right? So yes, we could do that, but we need to somehow wrap that. So the wrapper has to be there. That's again, we would love to offer something like this, Steven. It's interesting that you think this way already. At the moment, it's not as easy as you think, but that's something we actually want to. Yeah, we want to go into that direction. So let's hope next year, hopefully, let's see, we can actually offer decentralized staking. Would be really, really cool. Great. I think there's no more questions. So with this, I really want to thank you all for being part of this journey. Thank you, Yuzen. I saw Yuzen here in the chat talking about a few things, so I really appreciate that. Taking the extra time because I know it's crazy right now. We're spinning up all the notes and doing a lot of work there. So hey, thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this journey. Join us in our Telegram groups on social media. We love to take your feedback. This is something where we really want to be close to users. You know how this is important to me. We want to have a product that really delivers on what it says it should be doing. It's all about trust and transparency and about stability. At the end, that's really, really key. Over time, it's all about decentralization. Yes, it's not going to start off perfect in this way. I understand that. But this is one of our missions, and this is one of our commitments to go this route. And I really hope you have fun doing this. Try it out. Test it, right? Go on Cake, deposit a few coins, play around with it, and you're going to see it works. And withdraw. Check that we're doing what we say we're doing. Look in the notes. Look at the shares that are available. And then compare us to any other site out there. I assure you, we looked at them. None of them offer the trust and the transparency and everything that we have. And at the end, that's what the key thing is, right? That's what really makes this system key and powerful. So yeah, try it out. Come with us on this journey. Become a baker and yeah, serve some cake and have some fun doing that. So with this, thank you everyone for helping. Ewald, thank you so much for helping. I know Bettina is here helping. Yeah, with this, hey everyone, have a really good one and looking forward to seeing you at the next live. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.